Can you maybe describe what does the prayer represent? What is the actual practice of prayer like? What is the process like?
Sure. So prayer is the central pillar, if you will, of Islam. It is the life of the believer encapsulated into a very specific act of devotion that's done at least 5 times a day. So there are different types of prayer. There's supplication. So the 5 daily prayers are called Salah, which is the obligatory prayers. And then beyond that, there are voluntary prayers that are done throughout the day as well. So you can pray before and after the obligatory prayers, and then there are other times of the day that you can pray also. And the best prayer, voluntary prayer, is at night, in the middle of the night, because it's the time that you're closest to God. Sincere, away from the eyes of people, just in the still of the night. And you'd pray in a similar way with the standing and the bowing and the prostration, reciting the Quran. And then you have supplication and words of remembrance that you are to do throughout the day, between all of that. So when people say, do you pray 5 times a day? I say at least 5 times a day.
What are the words of supplication? Do they come from the Quran, or do they come from your own heart, or where do they come from?
So basically you say Allahu Akbar, which means I'm going to kill you, right? Or so they say, right? No, God is greater. You start off with that, an expression of God's greatness. And then you recite the opening chapter of the Quran, which is known as Al-Fatiha. It's the first chapter of the Quran. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. All praises be to God, the Lord of all the worlds, most compassionate, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, and from you alone we seek help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those who have earned your favor, not those who have earned your wrath, nor those who have gone astray. So that's a translation of the first chapter, the opening chapter of the Quran, which is known as Al-Fatiha. So we recite that in every one of the units of prayer. And then after that, we recite something else from the Quran, so some other portion of the Quran, and then we say Allahu Akbar. Once again, God is greater. We go into bowing, and in bowing we say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, which means glory be to God the Almighty, glory be to God the Almighty, glory be to God the Almighty. And then you come back up and you say Sami'a Allahu liman hamida, God has heard the one who has praised him. And then the response is Rabbana walakal hamd, and to you, O Lord, belongs all praise. And then we go into prostration, and prostration is at the heart of the prayer, and it is the most beautiful portion of the prayer, and it is the most beloved position for a servant of God, and that which is most pleasing to God. It's when you say at that point, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, all glory be to God the Most High. All glory be to God the Most High. So while you put yourself in the lowest position, you acknowledge God being the Most High. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that the closest that a person is to God is when they are in prostration. That is the time that your supplications are most precious and beloved. That is the time that you can cry your heart out. That is the time that you really feel a sense of great closeness and devotion to God. And as I was telling you earlier, it's a time that your mind is under your heart for a change, right? The only physical position, that your mind is actually under your heart. And you really have a chance to pour your emotions out and to connect deeply to God. It's the prayer of all of the prophets. Jesus, peace be upon him, is described even biblically as falling on his face in prayer. And so it really is, I think, the most intimate moment that you get with God, and the deepest part of the prayer. The word masjid, which is mosque in Arabic, means place of sujood, place of prostration. So think of the rest of prayer as an introduction to that particular part of the prayer where you really immerse yourself. Not that you shouldn't be immersed in your prayer throughout, but when you're in sujood, when you're in prostration, that's where you're really closest and most connected to God. So we do that. And so some prayers are 2 units. Well, the first prayer of the day, which is before sunrise, the earliest prayer, is 2 units. The second prayer, which is around noon, is 4 units. And then afternoon, another 4 units. And then the sunset prayer is 3 units. And then the evening prayer is 4 units. So each prayer has a different number of units to it, and some voluntary prayers that surround it. When you come back up, you express also a form of greeting towards God and channeling your prayers and your blessings towards God. You reiterate the Shahada, which is the first pillar of Islam. I testify that there is only one God and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And then you read what's called Salah Ibrahimiyya, which is the Abrahamic prayer. So you send peace and blessings upon Muhammad and his family and Abraham and his family. Abraham, peace be upon him, is really at the core of this religion. And so at the end of the prayer, you send peace and blessings and prayers upon, again, both Muhammad and his family and Abraham and his family. And then you have another chance to make some of your own personal prayers. And then you say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be unto you and the mercy of God to your right. Peace be unto you and the mercy of God to your left. And that means everything and everyone to your right, everyone and everything to your left. So you imagine in a congregation, when you're in worship, right, you're sending that to the angels and the human beings next to you, your fellow worshipers next to you. And you'll even say, you'll seek forgiveness from God afterwards. There are supplications that surround the prayer. And you will say, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. That, oh Allah, oh God, you are peace, and from you is peace. And to you belongs all glory and all praise. Almost to say that you received something in this prayer, that you receive a great sense of inner peace, and now you're spreading that, right? So as it really comes into you, then you can give to the world around you what you generate in your own heart. And in prayer, you generate a great sense of tranquility, a great sense of peace. The Quran says, verily in the remembrance of God do hearts find contentment. And prayer is an exercise in the remembrance of God. That is, again, obligatory 5 times a day, no matter where you are. So
anywhere in the world, anywhere you find yourself in your life, in different life circumstances, anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
So outside
Anytime,
a coffee shop in the grass, outside of the coffee shop.
as we did a few days ago.
Yeah.
So anywhere at all, and that means
airports included.
Given the context of our previous conversation of hatred towards people of Muslim faith, that means you probably, through the practice of prayer, it attracts people that hate.
I've attracted curiosity. I've attracted hate. I've had people walk up to me like, hey man, you okay? You know, in the airport.
So everything. So most probably is conversations of curiosity and the opportunity to actually talk about the values that you represent.
And I try to make it a point to tell people if I'm about to pray in front of them. So like, you know, in the airport, let's say, for example, I'll go to the corner next to a gate.
Yeah.
And if there are people sitting there like, hey, I'm about to engage in a prayer, I hope you don't mind, they'll really appreciate the courtesy most of the time. But no, I mean, when those 5 times come in, and they're kind of windows, right? Mm-hmm. We have to pray. And that means at work, that means at school, that means when you're traveling. Although there's some concessions that allow you to combine prayers at certain times when you're traveling, for example. But even then, you're going to have to pray. And I think that what that does to bring you back to God, no matter what you're doing, it's actually, you know, you think of it this way. You're in a meeting, you're engaged in something, you're really stressed out, and you also have the ablution before the prayer where you wash up, wash your face, wash your limbs, and engage in prayer. What it does for you in anchoring you in something more meaningful when you are in the turmoil of a lot of times what's not so meaningful is incredible. And so it's a gift from God. And it is an obligation. It's something that we have to do as Muslims. But if you actually learn its essence, then it can feel more like a joy than it is an obligation. And then you're called to at night, especially, again, the night prayer is a big part of who we are as Muslims, waking up in the last part of the night. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that the best prayer and the best fasting was of that of David, peace be upon him. So we think of David, the Prophet David. He's a prophet in Islam as well. I'm sure you'll ask me about the whole concept of prophethood. You're hearing Abraham and David and others, right? So David, peace be upon him, he said that David used to fast every other day, and he used to pray the last third of the night. He'd stand up and pray in the last third of the night. So fasting is a big part of who we are. And praying in the last third of the night, meaning before that early morning prayer, waking up if you can at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m., and praying even for a few minutes. There's something in the serenity of the night that can unlock in you a sense of inner joy and peace that nothing else in the world can give you.
And again, that pulls you away from all the turmoil of day-to-day life. If it's little things or if it's big things, it just pulls you out of it to remember what is more important in life.
So when we think about access, in the last third of the night, we're taught that God says, "Is there anyone seeking forgiveness that I may forgive them? Is there anyone seeking refuge that I may grant it to them? Is there anyone asking for anything that I may give it to them?" So whatever you're calling upon him with at that time, he's responding to you in a way that befits him. And so it's closeness as well. And you would think that you sleep less, so you're probably more cranky, but the happiest people in the world are the people that stand up in that last third of the night and pray.
I mean, there's a deeply meditative, contemplative aspect to it that I think probably strengthens your sleep, if anything else, once you return to it.
There you go. See, people underestimate that. There was a great sage in Islam. He was asked, he said, how come the people who pray at night are the most beautiful of people and they're fresh in the day? It doesn't make sense. And he said, because they secluded themselves with the most merciful and he dressed them in his light. And so there's a beauty that it generates. And that's why we're to aspire to that, really, as believers. That's kind of your highest thing. Like, don't just pray the 5 prayers. If you can pray at night and connect at that time.
Well, a good friend of mine, Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist from Stanford, he has an amazing podcast called Huberman Lab, but he's also a scholar of sleep, among many other things. And so I would love him he probably knows the science on this too. There's probably good science that actually studies practicing Muslims to see what the benefits to sleep. I would love to actually see what that says.
We have amazing, I don't want to cut you off, but we have amazing hygiene because of how much we have to wash up for prayer.
That's true.
And it's great for our limbs as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the added benefits, right? It's good for us. Worship that we do is not torturous. It's actually good for us. However, the core objective of worship has to remain that it's something you do out of worship and something you do out of a sense of obligation and gratitude to God, not because of those things. Like, I'm not going to fast because it's good for my health, but I know it's good for my health to fast. But it's pretty cool when you walk into, I'll share this with you. There was a man, he was a scholar from Turkey, an Islamic scholar from Turkey, and he had visited us in Dallas, and he was 108 years old, and he could still pray, bowing and prostrating. I mean, his limbs, and you think about that, like someone at that age still being able to do that. So I'm sure it's good for your limbs, it's good for your health, good for your gut, good for your sleep, good for your mind.
Well, I think the mind one is the really one we've been talking about, and that's really the big one. And in the small day-to-day psychological sense, and in the big philosophical sense of what it means to be a human being.